My word, look at the size of these great whites.
Guten yardening, everybody. Well, I'm feeling the beginnings of a chill in the air. You know, one side that's kind of a nice thing because the hot days of summer are past. We're getting closer to our sweet potato harvest, but on the other side, now I'm thinking about the end of our summer growing season, and that, to me, is not all that exciting. But that being said, I've still got a ton out here that I need to harvest. And so today I'm going to take you on one of those nice harvest tours, but our focus is going to be a little bit different. You know, we focus pretty heavily on the need to grow our own food, but an article I read recently really reinforced that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that article as we get into this harvest.
Our tomatoes are really starting to die back now, but I've got a whole bunch out here, both volunteer and some of the varieties that we took a look at in our most recent harvest video to get here and get inside. So I'm going to get these harvested. We talk a lot about encouraging people to grow their own food, to grow as much food as you can at home. And I know not everybody has a large amount of space. I mean, we don't even really have a big property here where we're growing food on, but taking advantage of what space you do have is really useful, really enables you to maintain control of the quality of your food and the freshness of your food. Check out this Sheboygan tomato. Look at all these tomatoes that are ready to come off. They're absolutely fantastic. So why is that so important to be able to maintain that control?
Well, the article that I was reading was from National Geographic, and essentially it stated that a lot of the vegetables and fresh produce that you're getting from the store today have less nutritional value than it had years and years ago, like 50, 60 years ago.
Now, when I'm reading that article, at first, my reaction was to be pretty surprised by those numbers. Think about it. We're losing a lot of what makes these fruits and vegetables so special in terms of our eating them. Now, of course, keep in mind that eating vegetables is always preferable to not eating vegetables. And the article went on to say that a main reason why that's happening
in many ways is due to a lot of the larger gardening practices of the bigger farms, because we're really focused in on production and quantity necessarily over quality. And what does that mean? That means that a lot of times the soil that we're growing in, or that some of the places where we get a lot of our produce are growing in, are not ideal. They're not the quality of the soil from 50, 60 years ago. Check out these great white tomatoes. Now, I wasn't able to show these last time because they weren't ripe yet. Isn't that magnificent? Well, it kind of makes sense, though, if you think about it. We do have more people than we had 50, 60 years ago. We don't have necessarily as many farmers, so farmers are trying to do more. So they have to kind of stretch what they're able to do, and so we end up with vegetables that may not provide that high density of nutrients that we once had.
Now, for those of you on a vegetarian diet, I would say this is probably even more pronounced and profoundly important, because your diet is even more reliant on the vegetables that you're eating. Oh, that green griller is massive. So then I started to think not just about that initial nutritional value that might be somewhat depleted when it comes to the food that we're having to buy if we're having to still buy produce. And instead I start thinking about just how quickly we know that vegetables lose their nutritional value even after picking. And if you do any research into this, you know the answer to that is they lose the value, especially like spinach losing vitamin C. It loses about 70% of its vitamin C value within 24 hours of harvesting. That's right, this spinach like we have right here in our green stalk. This spinach, as soon as I pick it, it's like there's a ticking clock that's saying, okay, I'm losing value, you need to eat me.
So think about that. You head to the produce aisle at your grocery store, you buy some of that fresh produce, and you're starting basically from a deficit. You're starting with stuff that's healthy for you, but not as healthy as it once was, and you're adding on to that the amount of time since that food was harvested, and who knows how long that's been.
And then we add on to that the fact that whatever you're growing at home, like these lima beans, let me open this one up for you. whatever you're growing at home, the taste, the quality, all of that is there in your control. You know the taste of the food you grow at home is going to be superior. And in my mind, that is a pretty profound thing to be able to say. So we're growing at home, we're controlling the quality, the quantity of the specific thing that we want, because we're growing the food that we actually enjoy eating, and we get all those additional health benefits with it because we're getting better quality stuff. Look at that watermelon tomato. That is absolutely fantastic. Isn't that a beautiful heirloom? Let me get a couple of these collard greens off of here. Now, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that we all have the ability to transform, or even the time really, to transform our entire yard into some kind of garden space. I realize that everybody comes at this from a different place and a different level of time, a different level of ability. Some of you don't have any yard at all. But my point is, in all of this, if you are growing your own food, you have the ability to control your own practices. You know what goes into your soil. You can determine the health of your soil. You can work to amend it, to fertilize it, to make it the healthiest possible for growing the food that you really want to see come out of your garden. And knowing you have that kind of control, that is a huge difference maker when it comes to providing the food that your family wants or needs, and really providing the most nutritional value. Because again, we know, let's take this tomato for example. I'm picking it right now. It's as fresh as it gets, and I'm going to be able to take it inside and either eat it, or in all likelihood, I'm going to come to the point where we've got this canned in some way. So even if I'm coming to the end of my growing season and some of our summer vegetables are nearing the end of their productivity, I still have plenty of healthier vegetables now that I can take inside and store. By the way, take a look at our habaneros, our first year growing habanero peppers, and these plants I think did really well. And if you want to know, they're pretty spicy. I've got one of our smaller habaneros here. I've had a couple of these already, and I know they're definitely nice and hot. For those of you out there who do pepper eating contests, I don't get it. I really like the taste of the habanero, but you couldn't ask me to go any hotter. Jalapenos are actually looking really nice as well. See those reds? Love them nice and ripe. Well, let me tell you something, that pepper cleared out my sinuses something fierce. My word, look at the size of these great whites. What a wonderful looking tomato. Wow. Really consistent size too. In the end, it doesn't matter where you start, how much you're able to grow. Really, it's all about just getting started. And then you know the food you're growing is better for you. It's better for your family. You're in control. I can't stress that enough. The ability to have control over your food, especially these days, that is an essential part of becoming self-sufficient and an essential part of making sure you have everything you need to live a nice, healthy life. Folks, it doesn't matter what color the vegetable is here. Look at our greens, our purples, whites, yellows, reds. It doesn't matter. Growing your own food at home is going to give you the healthiest veggies you can find. Well, one of the things that fall weather brings with it, shorter days. So I'm out of time. It's about to get dark out here, and I've got to get all of these bits of produce back inside. Listen, I've said this multiple times in this video. We want to produce the healthiest food possible, the most nutrition-packed food for our families. Whatever you can do to get started growing or even expand what you're growing, we can highly, highly recommend. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's video. Even though it was a shorter harvest, it's something that we really feel passionate about. If you did enjoy today's video, please don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.